everyone. We are back with another Risk Insurance Dialogues interview. Today we have Awais Farooq. So thank you so much, Awais, for being here. And he is this is really long, so I'm going to try and get this correct, the head of Digital Claim Solutions, Catastrophe, and Contract Connections in Canada at Crawford Company. So Awais, can you just kind of explain who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a long title, but it's several businesses put together. So Digital Claim Solutions is essentially Crawford and Company is focused all around the claims arena. So we are the claims department and the claims engine of the insurance industry. We handle all different types of claims, so from a fender bender damage to a satellite in the space damage, so a couple of $1 billion losses to small couple of hundred and denials and everything else in between. So I oversee all of our digital claim solutions, which involve AI solution, Cover AI, Servio, Digital Desk, in addition to our catastrophe response team and our Contractor Connection, which is a managed repair network. But really excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Although I'm overseeing the Canadian business, I am in the U.S. At the moment, and the weather's a little bit warmer here, no matter what time of year it is.
Yes, yeah, just a little bit, I guess, depending on where you are. But thank you again for being here. So I appreciate that introduction, and then I wanted to kind of jump into because you're very involved in several organizations focusing on leadership and young professionals. So I wanted to get started and ask you if there's any defining moments, maybe earlier in your career, that really shaped kind of your leadership philosophy, how you look at leading a team or just being an independent contributor, like a leader in that way as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been thinking about it when you sent me the questions. Is like, what was the defining moment? I don't think there was one particular time, right? You go through these phases of asking yourself this question: Am I truly a leader? Am I capable of leading people? Especially when you're an individual contributor. And I always get this question asked: Is can I be a leader even though I don't have a job? And the answer is always yes when you're talking to your mentors or anything like that, right? But the most important thing is recognizing the impact that you can have and the care that you give to people. So for me, the defining moment was when I was working at Catastrophe and going from office of 0 people to now you have a couple hundred people people coming into the office, and you're just in a measure of chaos, so tornadoes, hurricanes, anything like that, and you're organizing, you are that orchestrator trying to make sure things stay afloat. And that's what clicked in my head of saying, whoa, I can lead this. I can lead something bigger than myself, right? And there's a favorite scholar of early centuries, and he says that if you really want your children to be successful, you should teach them 3 things. It's horseback riding, swimming, and archery. So I'll start backwards. So archery, when a child learns to aim at something and targets at it, it learns to stay focused on its goal in life. When you teach them swimming, they learn to cope with pressure underwater, and they learn to understand the pressures of the world. And staying calm is the solution out versus panicking. And the third one is horseback riding. When a child learns to ride something bigger than its own size, it's able to understand that you can do this. You are empowered to be able to control where the horse goes, although you're relying on the horse, right? You're relying on that. So it's a very symbolic thing for me to kind of tie that back into opportunities landing in my lap, not in official capacity, but kind of forced capacity, and me realizing, whoa, I am capable of doing this, right? It's not about, the ability alone. It's the capability and making sure that you have the willingness and the ability all together to be able to execute and how effectively you can execute. And a leadership role is all around trying to make sure that you are making people that you're responsible for, that are under your care, better than where they were, right? And it's all about making sure that you're not in control. You're in control of the people that are responsible for making decisions, and that's what I would say was the defining moment when I was pushed beyond my limits to say, now go take care of this.
Yeah, I love that the three, the archery, horseback. That's really great. And I never kind of thought about it that way, but it's so interesting to kind of get everyone's different take on leadership because I think some people, another big topic is, is leadership, are you born with it? Can you learn it? It's that kind of skill. And so I think it's really important that you talked about, that defining moment when you kind of had to take on that leadership role and how, it's not something that maybe you always have, but then eventually you figure it out and you can become a leader. So it's definitely a really great point. And now talking about, I know you talked a little bit about lessons there, but for you specifically, and also for any new professionals coming in, are there any really valuable lessons that you would say, a young insurance professional or just a young professional in general that they should really learn as they're starting out their career?
Be open. There's a pathway that you'll design, there's a pathway your leadership team will design, and there's a pathway your mentors will design and the society will design, and saying you go from here to here to here, this is the path to success. And everybody will tell you everybody's path to success is something different, and what I will share is, mine has been open minded. I every time, even to this day, when I go into a role and I have a meeting with my boss, and my boss can attest to this, I tell him, I said, look, you tell me to jump, my response is going to be how high. And to set the stage and to make sure you take control of your own destiny, and you make sure you let folks know what you're capable of, right? And that you're willing to do what's needed. A lot of times we want to be successful, but then we limit ourselves in saying, I will never go into underwriting, or no, actuarial is not for me, right? And I think it's it's learning whether you're an inside adjuster and then you're going outside, and you were just in the field before locally and then you're doing catastrophe claims, or you were just a service assistant and now you're doing underwriting, and then you're deciding you want to try out marketing, right? Be open to those opportunities. Once you kind of go in different departments, it builds you up as a better individual, and you learn way more. You can do the same, you can work someplace for, I would say, 30 years, and you only worked one day. You just repeated it for 30 years, right? Or you could work 30 years and have 10 different roles, and now you've learned all aspects of the industry, which makes you better. Now you understand why expense ratios matter when you work in finance. Why, what does a combined ratio mean beyond just what CPCU teaches you, right? It makes you more aware of why we're doing certain things and how you can add value to it.
Yeah, and I think also as you rise up in a company, knowing all those different roles and kind of seeing what goes into insurance as a whole or a company as a whole, it can only benefit you, positively. And I think that's a great, people should definitely take advantage of that more. Just, all the like, try a different avenue, try, this line, try that role. And it's so important to really become versatile as a professional, especially if you can, as young as possible.
Yeah.
um, and so, with regards to now the insurance industry and how, we constantly talk about how it's growing and changing and evolving and all these great things, where do you kind of see, from your perspective, the most opportunity for that growth and innovation, maybe in the next like 5 to 10 years coming up here?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. There are a lot of missing pieces, right? But I think from an individual standpoint, and how you play with the technology is going to dictate where you will fit into those pieces, right? I always talk about that the printing press. When it came out, people doubted it, people questioned it, people said, "Oh, now everything is going to be written." And people are not going to have that intellectual knowledge in their brain because they will become lazy and they won't memorize things, or they won't know the formula on top of their heads, right? And look where we've gotten. The transfer of knowledge has increased us and made us into such a better society, and it's created a whole industry of printing, right? And same thing happened in the technology sector. When the technology was coming out, everybody would feared it and saying, "Oh, computers are going to take over your jobs, and you're not going to be needed anymore. Machines are going to be able to process, and working in plants, there's not going to be that much involvement from humans." And guess what? The biggest sector that's employing right now is the IT sector. Now we're entering into this AI phase where we're kind of going through those same motions of AI is going to take over your job, you're going to be obsolete, and we're not going to need your thinking. I think there's a gap there, and we can learn from history. People that succeed are the people that understand how to move with the flow, right? When you're at a river, you could either swim upstream and not get anywhere, or you can follow the stream and figure out how do you accelerate, how do you pedal faster, and what current are you going to be running with. And I think we're at the forefront of that. And young talent should, people that are entering into the industry that are new or that may have been here for a little bit, don't fear technology. Don't fear the loss of jobs because our industry has a huge, huge gap coming up in the next 10 years. And it will not be filled by all the AI in the world. And even if it does, we will need more people to help monitor those AIs. So instead of you becoming a claims adjuster, you can be an AI claims supervisor, right? You can be overseeing some of those things, and you could be an architect of AI technology and how it engages, or you can become a AI QA a leader that evaluates and determines how do you do that, ethics, behaviors, all of those things kind of combine together, right? I think the skill set of human beings is always going to be needed, and it will evolve. And the people that are going to succeed are going to be the people that take it with head on and say, how high do I jump?
Yeah, definitely. And how would you say for those people that are going to take it head on, and what do you think they can do to kind of better position themselves to actually be able to do that? Like, do you think they can do anything in particular to kind of line themselves up to be able to handle like this new innovation and these new roles?
Yeah, look, I think when you're thinking about change, there's an immediate trigger in your brain in the amygdala, right? That's automatically going into, is it safe for me? Like, where do I fit into all of this? I think remembering that and being self-aware of that is very important, right? I can tell you the traditional answer is go on LinkedIn Learning, go on, take on all these free courses and learn about AI. But I think before all of that, you have to put yourself in the mindset. You have to put yourself in the mindset that I am going to trust the technology and I am going to trust myself to be able to execute what comes out of that technology. And I think the the key thing would be that trust, right? Trust in yourself, trust in your capabilities, that no matter what the obstacle lies ahead, it's all about what you can do in the process, not necessarily what's against it. So I would say keep an open mind, explore, experiment, learn, and conversate with people, right? And I think the most amount of learning happens when you're having conversations with people and you're sharing your ideas and you're saying, hey, I saw this technology, voice agents coming in, there's agentic AI or there's generative AI, and this is what I think it can go. And when you speak to people and you create a circle around you of people that think, not necessarily the same way you do, it generates a good dialogue for you to think about how do you fit in, right? And because most of us have a group of friends or a group of colleagues that eventually start to influence our thinking, our behavior, and we start to become like them or they start to become like us. But go beyond that, right? The LinkedIn is one key area where you could go in and find folks that are forward thinking and ask them, hey, what do you think about this technology? Where do you see it? Because when you start to see the possibility, the the result that will come out of that is going to be much better than what you would do in your own siloed group.
Definitely. And would you say that, being the person that challenges the idea or asks a question about the information that's presented, would you say that that's, something that would be extremely beneficial as well?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Like, you're right. You want people, you want all different avenues and ideas around that. So if somebody disagrees with it, I will guarantee you that there's someone who agrees with it. And your job is to find both of the people, not just one side of the coin. Because a lot of times when we are looking to engage with people, we're trying to engage with people that think like us. And when I'll give an example, when you pick up the phone and you call a friend, there's two types of friends, right? One type of friend that'll agree with you and say, "Yeah, you're absolutely right. You shouldn't do this," and that's it. The conversation will end. You'll feel better, and you do what you were wanting to do. But a good friend is going to tell you all different avenues, or they'll tell you what you don't want to hear, right? We hear this again and again, but once again, our brain activity is to resort to what's safe for us, what's comfortable for us. And, I think we have to put ourselves outside of that comfort zone to be open to different ideas and to be open to different thought processes. And that doesn't just talk about career, it talks about, your personal interactions as well as, your political views and whatever it may be. Learn the other side of the coin because there's always two sides and you create the third.
Absolutely, I love that. It's so important to really, engage in conversations and different points of view. I think it's really essential to bettering yourself, like you said, as a person in addition to in your career. Um, and so to kind of wrap things up here, I like to always ask everyone because I've asked this question to people so many times and I've never gotten the same answer, so I just love asking it. But if there's one piece of advice that you would give to a new professional who's coming into the industry, fresh out of college or wherever they're coming from, maybe a different industry, what would you tell them?
I would say be open. Be open to the possibilities that can exist for you, and don't limit yourself. Don't be your own enemy, and focus in on trying to figure out, what is the art of the possibility if you take down a different pathway. Do it in a measured risk. Assessed way. We're in the insurance industry, so always assess your risk of knowing, what's the best worst case scenario, and you should continue to evaluate that.
Absolutely. That's great. And so thank you so much for being here today. This was such a great conversation, and I love hearing your points of view about, all these different topics. So thank you again for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Katie. And if you all are watching, you need to listen to Katie's podcast because she is bringing some amazing insights into the industry, bringing in talent and diverse group to talk to you all about it. So, really awesome listening to all of our podcasts, and I encourage you to do the same thing.
Thank you so much.